Hey guys, what's up? My name's Paige, welcome to my channel, and in this video we're going to be going through what we know so far about Captain America Civil War. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like, leave any comments at the end of the video, and make sure to subscribe if you're new. Now, possible spoiler warning if you haven't seen either Age of Ultron or some of the previous Marvel movies, but hopefully you have if you're watching this video. Now, in regards to the story, the film will be adapted from probably one of the most popular crossover events in Marvel's catalog, I guess you could say, which is Civil War, which was written by Mark Miller. Now, the movie's plot will essentially be tied into the events, or the aftermath, I guess you could say, of Age of Ultron and the conclusion of Phase 2 of the MCU, aka the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, this will probably be the biggest ensemble film that Marvel will do, even though they've had 2 Avengers films and they're having Avengers Infinity Gauntlet Part 1 and Part 2 later. But this will just be massive because there'll be characters that are having their own solo movies coming up as well that will be chucked into this, either to introduce them or just prove that they exist in the universe, I guess you could say. Now, from what we know, and if you've seen Age of Ultron, we know that at the end of the movie he essentially assembles the new Avengers. So at the beginning of the movie we can kind of guess that that's where it's going to lead off. He's going to be leading the new Avengers, stopping certain things around the globe from happening. But what will happen is that it will lead to an incident which basically involves either a lot of people dying or a lot of collateral damage, maybe in a very populated city, like it could be like a London or a Paris or something like that, and a lot of collateral damage happens. Now, there could be all this pressure and stuff towards either the governments or just the actual SHIELD or the Avengers group in general to sort of sort this out, and which would lead to the whole registration with the government, which happens in the comic books. Now, obviously the whole point of this is that some superheroes are sort of on that side while others aren't. They do not want their like sort of secret identities revealed. Now, that's basically, I guess you could say, the easiest way to sum it up, but we don't really know the fine details of what's going to actually happen in the movie, who's going to die, because in the comic book, spoiler alert, Captain America actually does die for a bit. So it matters what they're going to do and how they actually, what road they're going to go down, I guess you could say. Now, one thing we know in this movie with Captain America is that the whole thing with the government having to register your identity and all this stuff with them. Now, you gotta remember the last time Captain America was involved with a sort of like a government or just sort of some form of organization, ended up being completely rotten in the core and being controlled by the enemy. So obviously that was SHIELD being controlled by Hydra in Captain America Winter Soldier. Now, essentially what happened in the comic book was that Captain America was eventually seen as a fugitive in the eyes of both SHIELD and like heroes like Iron Man and stuff like this, due to the fact that he was resisting all this, like this new the new registration legislation. He was against it, and so he was seen as sort of like a fugitive, and sort of, I think he was driven underground from what I can remember. And along with all these other heroes that were opposing this registration for superheroes, he led basically a resistance movement leading to both all these attacks and all our battles with Iron Man and his allies. Now, at this point, obviously because there's no trailer or anything like this, it's really hard to see how close they are to the source material, in this case the Civil War comic book, but hopefully they're pretty close to it. Obviously there's all these changes, there's always going to be changes just to make it more modern, even though Civil War is a pretty recent comic book or story, I guess you could say. But obviously there will be changes, and I think they are changing it a bit in regards to the whole, what sort of the legislation is. Now, in the comic Civil War, Tony Stark is actually, he makes himself sort of the face of the whole registration. He sort of makes himself like the one leading it, which essentially puts him in direct conflict with Captain America. But it's expected that the relationship between the two characters is what will actually drive the movie. But you gotta remember, in the cinematic universe, Tony Stark has all this post-traumatic stress from the events of the first Avengers film. But also he is seen as sort of the villain. Like, I know the second Avengers movie is called Age of Ultron, and you think that Ultron's a villain, but you gotta remember who created Ultron, which was Tony Stark. Even though he does solve it in the end, he was the one that caused a lot of both deaths and destruction. And the last thing we got is that we know that Black Panther is going to be in the movie. So this will obviously be the first time we see Black Panther on the big screen. Now, there isn't direct confirmation of what Black Panther's role in this movie is, but there obviously has been the rumor that he is basically going to be taking the mantle of what Spider-Man was in the comics. Now, there's all this rumors that obviously because Marvel got the rights to use Spider-Man in movies, will Spider-Man be in Captain America Civil War? We're all hoping for it. Obviously there was that fake end credit scene that those people made for Avengers 2, but if they've confirmed that Black Panther is going to be in this movie, I think they will use them. They still might use Spider-Man, but they might just make it a bit of a more expanded role, and Black Panther will play an equal part to Spider-Man, or maybe a bit more, just because they know that his movie is coming up in the future. Now, we also know that Bucky Barnes is actually going to be in Captain America Civil War due to a post that the actor Sebastian Stan posted on Instagram, which shows him sort of like mid-punch, and it sort of looks like he's wearing the hat and the sort of longish hair that we saw in the end credit scene for Captain America Winter Soldier, which shows him in that Captain America museum, which it shows him a picture of himself. So we can expect him to be in here. Not too sure how big the role will be, but we've got to remember that Bucky Barnes actually did take the mantle of Captain America for a while Steve Rogers was actually dead. So thanks for watching, guys. Leave any opinions or thoughts in the comment section below. What do you think they'll put into the Civil War movie? What do you think they'll include from the comic book into the movie, or maybe even introduce something new into the film? I'm really excited. This is I think it's May next year that it comes out, sort of like the same day that Avengers 2 came out this year, but for next year. So I'm pretty excited for this film. It's going to be pretty damn awesome. So if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed, and make sure to follow me on Twitter. That link will be in the description below. Check out any of my recent videos, and I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.